Welcome back to Game Tiered, a series where I review a game and tier list it at the end, adding to the tier list as the series continues. Today's game, Injustice, released by NetherRealm Studios on Steam in 2013. Though I should make it clear that I'm playing the Ultimate Edition released later that same year. Alright, starting a new game, that's odd. It didn't ask me if I wanted to do the tutorial. I guess that's what I get for not deleting my save data beforehand. Whatever, I know how to play and the tutorial sucks anyway. It's one of those, you either perform each move multiple times successfully, or you don't do the tutorial at all, so some moves I've got down and others I have no clue what buttons to press. Which is to say I'm not the greatest at this game, despite me beating it once before. We open on Metropolis being destroyed and the Joker being interrogated by Batman when Superman breaks in, throws the Joker around, and eventually kills him. Elsewhere, a battle is going on between all of the Justice League and Titans versus Joker and Lex Luthor. Starting us off with Chapter 1, Batman. While the Titans deal with Luthor, Batman is checking on Deathstroke to make sure he's still in prison. And of course he's not, and so, ruining the impact of the paper tear by already saying their name, we need to fight Deathstroke. So this is a fighting game in the same vein as Mortal Kombat, or maybe Tekken to an extent. Hitting different combinations of buttons will perform different actions. My skill level is somewhere between mindless button mashing and actually trying to learn the controls. I know how to perform some attacks, and probably could perform others even if I didn't know the button combo to input. That being said, each character also has an ultimate attack that does a significant portion of damage. For Batman, he throws a smoke bomb, tasers his opponent, breaks their jaw, then hits them with the Batarang, then hits them with the Batmobile. Going to help out the Titans with Luthor, we fight Bane. And here it's where I started using environmental attacks, which can deal some pretty serious damage if you and your opponent are in the right spots. Didn't stop Bane from performing a transition attack, moving the fighters to an entirely different arena to continue fighting in. But it didn't matter. Thanks to spamming grab attacks, because I can't be bothered to actually learn how to fight, I won. Go figure. Anyway, we now need to stop Luthor. This is where the game puts us in a quick-time button mashing event where, depending on how many successful attacks we perform, we remove a portion of our opponent's shield, and the more we fail, the more of our shield we lose. Anyway, I absolutely destroyed Lex and disabled his suit, and then we got an alarm that the Joker is setting up a nuke in Metropolis, and Nightwing gives Lex a bonk on the head for being destruction horny. Teleporting to Metropolis, everyone else is also on their way, and right before everyone inevitably crashes into each other, probably causing the explosion to go critical anyway, we're teleported away, and the Joker blames us, so we fight, and he kinda almost kicked my ass here. Sometimes the NPCs will just fight out of their minds and just absolutely combo lock you, which is really unfun since it genuinely feels like at least a little unfair in a PvE environment. Not to say that the game should just let you win, but like, at least make it feel like the player has some kind of a chance to fight back. Anyway, we're surrounded by armed guards, so Batman plays some sounds to incapacitate everyone. And escapes to some rooftops later on. How Joker got out of there, I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it isn't even shown. Anyway, on to Chapter 2, Green Lantern. Theorizing what's just happened alongside Wonder Woman, Green Arrow, and Aquaman. Man, I'll just ruin all the paper tear reveals this episode, aren't I? Anyway, we need to recharge our ring. Along the way we find Cyborg and Raven torturing Deathstroke. Seems odd, and of course we step up to help, first needing to fight Raven. And I started off the fight by throwing a missile, a tool bench, and kicking her face through a brick wall, followed immediately by bashing her with an O2 canister and making her fly into another missile. I then finished the fight off with Lantern's ultimate, taking her to a Mystic Lantern pocket dimension, I think, and hitting her with a hammer, crushing her with buses, then flying a bunch of fighter jets and missiles into her. I guess at least we won't be worrying about her anymore. Anyway, we need to fight Cyborg. He didn't use his ultimate, so there's not much to add here, except that he managed to survive my ultimate, so I ended up leg sweeping him to finish him off, which was kind of funny to me. After saving Deathstroke, we turn our back and he leaves. Great job, Green. Getting back to Green Arrow and Wonder Woman, we need to fight Sinestro, starting off with a button mashing section. Yeah, I'm smashing a dumpster into his skull for that. I kinda kicked his ass in the beginning, and because taking damage fills your ultimate meter more than dealing damage does, he was able to take his revenge, teleporting me to space, crushing me with some boulders, then hitting me with his super laser piss. But I still defeated him, it is just in time for Yellow Lantern to show up. Can't wait to see what moves I can perform, either because I don't know the controls, or because these are technically different characters so they have different moves, but I wouldn't know the difference and it shouldn't matter anyway since they're both lanterns. Anyway, the Faker sent us flying to a rooftop and crushed me with the bat signal, which is weird because isn't Batman like a fugitive in this universe? Why is this still here? To bait him out maybe? I don't know. Anyway, defeating Yellow Lantern on my second attempt, interestingly on that same rooftop, because he figured he could use the same tricks twice, but whatever, we won. Regrouping with the other two, we also run into Batman. This is actually kind of a weird complaint that I have with this, how the story is told. It will switch between what I will call the main and Injustice universes. The main one being the one where Lois is alive and Superman isn't a dictator and Cyborg has hair. And the Injustice universe is where Batman, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman were sent, but the game doesn't tell you when the universe switches happen, so it can be confusing under what context something is being talked about. Anyway, the main timelines, Superman, Flash, and Cyborg are trying to find a way into the Injustice universe. Oh yeah, speaking of Aquaman, the next chapter we go to Atlantis to play as Aquaman, meeting up with Flash and Shazam to sign a treaty that would put Atlantis under Superman's control, and so we decide to fight both of them. First up is Flash. There's not really much to say for either of them, well, except Aquaman's ultimate is kinda cool. He spawns a flood, impales his opponent, then lets his shark have at him. I managed to beat both of them without them using their ultimates, so I never saw them sadly. Moving on, we also fight this world's Aquaman. But more interestingly, we also fight Ares. Not our Ares, who's grown weak from the lack of conflict that Superman was able to bring, and after defeating Ares for not listening to the Fishman, we're teleported to the rest of the Justice League to meet not our Batman, and he tells us that he has pills that make us as strong as a Kryptonian, no doubt useful. He also shows us that Luthor is working with us and Superman as a double agent. Anyway, Superman has captured Doomsday and it's revealed that him and Wonder Woman are now a couple. Anyway, Yellow Lantern tells Superman that Hal Jordan is here. And getting back to the duo that was teleported, we get to play as Joker and need to fight Batman. They're not getting a separate paper tear. Anyway, Joker's ultimate is, as expected, completely over the top. Thrown a pie, then beated his opponent with... Why did I write this in past tense? Throwing a pie at his opponent, then beating them with a metal pipe and a gas canister, then point-blanking blasting them with a rocket launcher. I hope that made sense. Defeating Batman, Hawkgirl and Yellow Lantern show up to take away Bats, and reporting to Superman, we see that he actually has control over Doomsday. Getting back to Joker, Harleen shows up to teach us not to pretend to be the Joker. Her ultimate has her hitting us with a mallet, planting a mine under us, and letting it explode. Anyway, Joker explains that
this isn't my Gotham, but
I'm the Joker, baby!
Convincing her of our legitimacy, and she takes us somewhere. Meanwhile, Superman now has the main Batman in custody, and Joker and Harleen make it back to their safe house where he shows off some of the pills Batman made. Or maybe it was Lex who made it? I can't remember, and I can't be bothered to check. There's no time anyway since we're under attack, and we need to fight Hawkgirl. This arena is pretty fun. There's a hanging pig carcass that I kinda spammed usage of because it just deals that much damage to whoever's hit. Defeating Hawkgirl, we have a button mashing section with Nightwing, I assume. And when we fight, he actually completely combos me at first, but I managed to gain the upper hand and he doesn't even land a single hit after taking down my shields. After winning, the rest of the insurgency shows up and Hawkgirl and Nightwing retreat, and Joker is locked up and we go to the main universe without the game telling us that that's what's happening. So before me paying attention to write this script, I thought it was the Injustice Superman, Flash, and Cyborg trying to get into the main dimension, but it's vice versa in reality. What was I saying? It doesn't matter. The Deadshot decided to join the insurgency officially, and we make it to the Batcave to play as Green Arrow, launching Operation Thunder Eel Lightning whatever. We get into the mansion and make it past the automated turrets to fight Grundy, and a House of the Dead style aiming section playout. Actually fighting him was nothing special, but after we defeat him, Green Lantern takes him to play out into the street. Then we fight Frost. She was nothing special, and it's off to the Batcave where Batman tells us that to stop Superman, he needed DNA from other Justice League members, explaining why he brought the ones that he did, as they're carrying the DNA that he needs to get a kryptonite weapon. And Green Arrow's hand is yellow. Then some enemies break in. First is Wonder Woman. She won't get a paper tear yet because of reasons that I don't want to get into right now, and we beat her way too easily. Up next is Black Adam. He was pretty difficult. The first time I fucked up with Green Arrow's ultimate, using it on Adam's shield instead of their health. The second time they took me out with their ultimate, punching us into the air, yelling Shazam! To summon a lightning bolt and stomps our spine in. The third time I finally won, ending the fight with Arrow's ultimate, shooting an explosive arrow to knock our opponent into the air, shooting him again with a rope arrow. Anyone I've ever played D&D with just had 3 separate flashbacks. Anyway, they get slammed down and we shoot them with more explosive arrows, which is enough to defeat a dude who can electrocute us with his voice. I know that's not how Shazamming works, but regardless, they retreat, going back to the main universe to play as Cyborg. Flash and Superman send Cyborg to the Infamous universe immediately. Going into the Infamous universe, we need to fight Deathstroke and Lex. Nothing special, though Cyborg's ultimate is, well, a little underwhelming, punching our opponent with a giant fist, then blasting them with an energy beam, then an even bigger energy beam. Whoa. Anyway, we decided to destroy the Watchtower since Cyborg can disguise himself. We sneak into the Hall of Justice with Deathstroke, and Catwoman teleports in and our cover gets blown, so we fight and her ultimate is a million times cooler than Cyborg's, kicking us into the air, whipping us around the neck and slamming us into the ground, then jumping on us and scratching us up. After defeating her, we get hacked by the other Cyborg and we return the favor. Failing that, we fight like men, and I win. I am fairly manly, so it makes sense. We'll put that on screen. And now we need to actually play as Deathstroke. They got their paper tear at the beginning. Anyway, Shazam and Flash again. Deathstroke's ultimate is pretty good. We swing a sword across the entire battlefield pretty fast, making it kinda hard to escape, and then he throws his sword into the air, takes some shots, then kicks the sword into our opponent, then goes all out with bullets, and Shazam actually managed to hit me with their ultimate, punching us into the air, then punching us more, then slamming us down. Honestly, I think Cyborg's is better. I mean, for God's sakes, at least Black Adam electrocuted us. Flash was nothing special, though we did set the Watchtower to explode, so we need to act fast. Anyway, Lex calls and says that Batman's weapon is repairable, so we need to get the parts for it. Meanwhile, Batman gets Harleen to organize her men, and she lets the Joker out. Anyway, getting back to Deathstroke, we need to fight Frost again as well as Wonder Woman again. Neither of these fights are worth talking about, they never showed off their ultimates. Moving on to Chapter 8, Batman. Yeah, we're going back to play as Batman, first needing to fight Catwoman as a giant fight breaks out between the Insurgency and Superman and his allies. Next up, Nightwing, and we learn that this is actually Damian and not Dick. I feel like there's some really bad no-Dick Damian joke here, but I'm too stupid to figure it out. Also, yes, I'm putting Damian's ultimate on screen because I can't be bothered to describe it for the people who have me on their second monitor. If I'm calling myself out, I'm calling out everyone else who's doing that. Freeing our Batman, Green Arrow gets possessed by Raven, so we need to fight, and we kicked his ass. Saving Batman, Yellow Lantern shows up and barely tries to stop us. He was pretty easy. Making out of the facility, we're stopped by Superman, and Batman tries to get through to him, but it doesn't work, so Superman flies up to the watchtower to see it get blown up, and looks down at Earth proudly. I think that's the emotion on his face. Going 3 hours into the past. Oh, this is a time travel game. No, I'm kidding. It's not. But we do go 3 hours into the past to play as Lex Luthor, starting off a fight between him and Harley, and when she fails, Joker tries to kill her, and then he tries to do the job himself, and also fails. Trying to join the fight, we're stopped by Hawkgirl and Black Adam. Neither were particularly difficult. Neither even showed off their ultimates, but I did. Luthor's ultimate is kind of insane. He throws a ton of punches, then collects energy from a satellite-looking thing, then launches it at his opponents. Trying to remove Hawkgirl's belt, Shazam shows up to fight Luthor. Again, nothing special, hit him with the super laser piss and we win. Then Superman shows up and kills Lex. And hearing everyone talk about how he just killed Lex drives him insane, and he flies off. Id then meets up to discuss the revitalization of the Insurgency, and after Superman says that he's going to destroy Metropolis and Gotham, Shazam speaks up and says that there needs to be limits on power, especially on them. And Superman kills a 12-year-old. Which is enough to make Flash defect, which marks as our time to play as him. First going up against Yellow Lantern, then Grundy, both were too slow. Trying to get to the Insurgency, we run into Sinestro and interrupt his power trip to build him a pyramid. Oh, right, Flash's ultimate. He runs around the world and punches really hard, making it to the insurgents. Green Arrow tries to fight us, but since I'm not playing as them, they suck, and the Flash tells us what he knows as we switch to playing as Wonder Woman. And Batman wants to send us back to the main universe, but there's not much time to argue as we need to fight Bane. After a button mashing section that feels genuinely impossible to do without taking damage, we fight. And towards the end, I was super close to getting my ultimate, so I did nothing for like 10 seconds to let Bane hit me, and after he does, I activated Wonder Woman's ultimate, and the initial attack that requires landing to do the full animation outright kills Bane, so the full thing doesn't play. Anyway, we're teleported to Themyscira by Ares and we fight him. He was also a massive headache. Primarily, I was trying to get Wonder Woman's ultimate so I could talk about it, but instead I'll talk about Ares' ultimate. He slams a sword into us and teleports us to a field where he launches a bunch of arrows at us, then crushes us, and on like my 4th attempt, I actually got Wonder Woman's ultimate to trigger. She shield bashes her opponent, lassos them, lets some of her sisters in arms have at them, then she pulls them in to slash her sword at them. Finally, after beating Ares, Raven shows up, and took her long enough considering what Green Lantern did to her, and we get completely destroyed by her as well. God, I'm really not good with Wonder Woman. Like, I had some issues with Green Arrow in the Black Adam fight, but it was not as consistent of an issue as this. Actually, every fight after this point took me more than one try to defeat, so keep that in mind. After defeating Raven, eventually, we go to stop the other Wonder Woman and we fight. She destroyed me, and like I said, this was a consistent issue, and I wouldn't blame you for saying it's a skill issue, but like after 3 tries we beat her. Switching scenes to the 2 Batmans, they're starting up the teleporter to bring Superman to the Injustice universe, but not our Batman wants to send everyone over to the main universe to prepare for Superman's invasion. And so we fight, and I get completely destroyed. I don't know why or how, but a lot of the time I get completely stuck in hit stun, which is what I was talking about earlier fighting the Joker, where it feels like you need to just let your opponent win first before the game will give you a chance at winning, which isn't really fun. Anyway, I eventually beat Batman, and we bring over Superman to help with the fight. Getting to the fray, we see the different skirmishes happen, and Black Adam throws cars at us. Also, something absolutely insane that I realized while watching the footage is that Black Adam is picking up moving cars, meaning people are inside them driving them, which that alone is an outside of character for Black Adam, I don't think, but Superman is using his heat vision to blow them up. Meaning he's just blowing up innocents. What the hell, Superman? Oh hey, I actually beat Black Adam on the first try. I guess when my enemy starts with less shield, I can actually take them down. Anyway, Sinestro shows up and takes him to Pound Town, and then Superman takes Sinestro from the back and takes his ring. Then Yellow Lantern gives Superman his ring. You know, I don't think this is what Laura said when she said harem. Not that I'm complaining, I love a good yaoi subplot. Getting back to the A plot, we need to stop Aquaman from... I'm not gonna make that joke. You probably don't realize what joke I could make, but I already made a gay joke, so if you want another, go back 30 seconds. Okay, but actually fighting Aquaman sucked. He has this stabbing barrage attack that is a nightmare if you get caught in it. At least I was able to activate Superman's ultimate. He flies them up, punches them into the stratosphere, then slams them back down to the ground. After defeating Aquaman, we try to organize a search and rescue operation when Superman gets hit by a flying vehicle and slammed through a few buildings by Doomsday. He started stomping on us, then Superman takes him to the stratosphere, and instead of just leaving him there, he takes him to the Fortress of Solitude, and this fight was so unimaginably unfair. He trapped me in this corner and kept spam attacking me, and I couldn't do anything, which is like a prime example of hit stun. This happened like 3 times. Eventually I beat him, and not our Superman shows up. So we give him a lecture that he's not a god and that he stole everyone's freedom, and oh my god, this was a frustrating as fuck fight. I genuinely lost track of how many times it took me to beat him. He also blocked my ultimate somehow, which, god damn it, this fight was genuinely, well, it was the most difficult fight in the game, which does make sense, it's the final fight of the story, but it really was here where I outright stopped having fun, and it kind of started with fighting Raven as Wonder Woman. But my god, it just completely took me out of wanting to play anymore. Eventually I did beat Superman though, and other Justice League members show up, and we see everyone who helped Superman get arrested and face justice, ending with Superman in a Red Sun prison to dampen his powers, and the game ends with Superman and Batman talking about Batman coming after Superman if he goes bad. Okay, so this is like 2 days later, and a friend told me that there's a difficulty setting, and it was on medium this entire time, so I'm not letting this affect my rating since I don't have time to replay the entire game, and also, if anything, this actually highlights how aggressive just the medium AIs are. Like, I feel like I shouldn't be getting hit stunned like this on medium, which I personally believe that hit stun is never the player's fault. At least not hit stun like this, where you just can't get out of a combo that takes your shield and 60% of your health. Anyway, back to the video. Alright, so originally I was planning on talking about some of the extra stuff, mainly Star Labs, basically a challenge mode, and also battles, which, if memory serves, lets us pick a character and we need to fight a series of enemies in succession. I didn't get footage of either since I ran out of time to make this video, so sadly I didn't play through any of it, but I can appreciate there being more to the game than just a story mode and multiplayer. This game was incredibly difficult for me to form an opinion on. While it's an alright fighting game with more than a few frustrating parts, and while at the same time, and I can't stress this enough, in isolation from the damage to Superman and Batman it's caused in relation to how people conceptualized them in the 2010s, this certainly has definitely one of the better DC stories that have been told. Not to mention the extras that I didn't have the time to really get into, making sure the player has stuff that they can do after they've beaten the game. But with all that said, I give Injustice a C tier. I really didn't like a lot of the gameplay. Granted, I'm not the biggest fan of fighting games to begin with, so maybe my bias against the genre is affecting things too much, but there were times where I felt like I wasn't even allowed to play due to how often I ended up in hit stun. What saves it from a D tier for me is the story. Even though it did ruin Superman and Batman for quite a while in the 2010s, not that it started there, but that's why we don't consider outside media beyond why a choice was made in the current game that I happen to be reviewing, so the story is a positive for me. Anyway, be sure to comment what game you would like me to review in the future, and yeah, take care everyone.